All right, Panther Lair, let's talk about another thing that Jamarius Burton did really well in the Pittsburgh Panthers' most recent victory over the Louisville Cardinals, and this is going to be his pick and roll usage. Now, I thought about doing a couple of these, I still might, but I really wanted to focus on this particular possession because it was at a juncture in the game where, as you can see, Pitt is down, and John Hughley had just gone out with a second foul, and Pitt had kind of been in a situation where Burton would come down, miss a jumper. Mogi kind of had a turn or two, and just nothing was really clicking. And this also kind of coincided with Louisville using a zone here and there as well. So it was kind of a combination of things. But at some point, Burton just kind of flipped the switch, and I noticed this right away because it was something that you just don't see out of a lot of Pitt guards. Again, it's something that Jamarius Burton is bringing to the table that just no other real Pitt guards have brought to the table over Capel's 4 years at Pitt. It is something that Xavier Johnson did sometimes, but it's something that I think that Jamarius Burton does a really good job of and is far more efficient. So let's talk about this particular possession in pick and roll. So this is kind of their strong look, right? Anytime they run these kind of staggered screens, we could label that as strong. And Burton's going to come off of these staggered screens, catch the ball, and obviously the staggered screens don't work, so none of the strong works here. But he calls for another screen, and Noah Collier, who is extremely good and has been setting screens throughout this entire season, changes the angle on the screen here. So you're going to see he's going to call for it. No, Collier flips the angle, changes the angle here, and gets into screen. Now, Burton's defender is going to try to deny the use of the screen. He doesn't sit so high up where it's necessarily ice, but I think the point of this is going to be, or could, I guess some variants of ice, I guess depends on your definition, but the point of that is going to be to keep Burton on this side of the floor, right? So it's the whole point of this defense is to deny Burton's the ability to use the screen. So they're going to deny his ability to use the screen. So Burton snakes this out, man. And it's just so good here because it's such a good feel because it does two things. One of the things snaking pick and rolls does is it basically has the ball handler go back to where they originally wanted to go, right? So if Burton was going to reject that screen, use that screen, if Burton intended to go here and the defense says, no, we want to keep you here, then snaking this out is going to kind of put Burton back where he intended to go. And then the other thing, it's going to leave his defender in a really bad trailing position. So anytime that a defender is having to kind of trail and now chase Burton because he kind of S's this out like a snake, it's going to put a ton of pressure on the help defenders. So it basically does, Burton gets to where he wants to go originally, and it says, okay, well, we're not going to allow the defense to do what we want, and it's going to force you guys to help far longer than if I would have just kind of immediately driven this ball or just taken what the defense gives me. So now that he S's this out, you can see just how much attention is now devoted to him because he's just in this play longer. He's in the lane longer. And now he's just going to raise up for a nice jumper. And I do want to mention that these are the kind of twos that I think Jamarius Burton should and can make, right? They're in rhythm. They're not the longest two possible. And he basically gets 2 feet in the paint when he does this. And I think anytime that he's rising up with 2 feet in the paint, he's been pretty good. The ones he wants to avoid, and I definitely will be talking about this later in the breakdown, are the ones that are basically like 2 feet inside the three-point line in which he dribbles into those. Those ones probably should go away. But these type of mid-range jumpers, the Pittsburgh Panthers can absolutely live with. And this is just another really intuitive thing here that Burton brings to the table that just few guards have. And I really think that a healthy Burton early in the season would have made a big difference as not only a secondary ball handler, but he's become pretty much the primary ball handler. And when you see plays like this, it shouldn't surprise anybody why he's basically involved in more pick and rolls than any other player at this point in the season.